Good afternoon. House Education Finance Committee will come to order. Let's see, anybody want to offer the minutes? Representative Tice, would you like to move approval of the minutes from the April 12th meeting?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would love to.
All right. Representative Tice moves approval of the minutes. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. Thank you, Representative Tice and members. So today we are going to consider House File 4328, and I did file a delete all amendment, the DE2 amendment, and so you all should have copies of that in your packets and summaries and that. So that will be what we'll do today is we will have staff go through this and do a walkthrough of the DE2 amendment. And afterwards, we will take public testimony. We do have this room reserved this evening at 5:30 or call of the chair to resume public testimony if we do not are not able to complete all of it today, and I would expect that to be the case, that we probably won't by 2:45 today. So we will plan accordingly. And so I think how I'd like to do this, nonpartisan staff, do you want to just stay in your spots? Okay. Is that as we are going through the walkthrough of the bill, if members have questions of a clarification nature, just to make sure you're understanding what's in the DE2, please go ahead and seek recognition, and we'll do those questions. But I think kind of just overall, more debate on that we'll reserve for after testimony. But please feel free to ask questions to make sure you're understanding what's in the DE as we do that. So with that, just to formally have it before us, I will move House File 4328 be re-referred to the Committee on Taxes. And then I will move the DE2 amendment to House File 4328. And again, with the intention to lay both the amendment and the bill over today for further consideration on Wednesday, April 18th, 2018. And with that, before I turn over to nonpartisan staff, I just wanted to make a few comments. And as members are looking through this, many of you will see bills that you authored incorporated into the DE2. And I want to thank all of the members of this committee for your hard work, your very productive and thoughtful dialogue throughout our committee consideration of these items and your constructive input into the amendment. From a broad level, the DE2 adds $30.2 million to our education funding for fiscal year 19, and an additional $28.5 million of that amount, $28.5 million is for student safety and school security. Our commitment to student safety and school security includes $27.5 million of ongoing funding, and that will include charter schools and cooperatives, which had not previously received any safe schools money, and we felt it was important to include those members of the education community in this. So for fiscal year 19, there's $20.2 million for safe schools revenue, $5 million, and this is an increase over what we're currently doing and ongoing for school-linked mental health grants, $2 million for physical security audits of schools, $400,000 for school resource officer training, $300,000 for school threat assessment training, $350,000 for opioid and drug misuse prevention education in schools. The school safety and security provisions rely on multiple options and combine additional resources and offer flexibility locally to our schools on existing resources. And we have borrowed, I think, the best ideas that have been put out there from the governor, from the Senate, from all members of this body that have offered up some really great ideas, and I think we have basically utilized all of them in this proposal. We are also addressing additional protections for our students in this bill. The Teacher Code of Conduct Bill, which I had introduced as House File 2745 or 2795, is also included in this package with some amendments. And basically, it codifies the teacher code and also makes it clear that sexual contact with a student, regardless of a student's age, is not acceptable. There are stronger background checks that will occur, including pulling through information on stays of adjudication and an updated list of criminal offenses that disqualify individuals from an educator license. It also updates our mandatory reporter laws to remove any question or ambiguity on whether or not someone must report allegations of maltreatment of a minor. There may be provisions in here that some of us don't agree on, and some that we do agree on. So I hope that this is a starting point for developing common ground and a strongly bipartisanly supported bill. I want to obviously thank the governor and his staff and the commissioner, who we will hear from in a moment, or after the walkthrough, for their constructive input on many of these provisions, and look forward to continuing that good working relationship as we continue our work on this bill. So with that, I will ask nonpartisan staff to begin their walkthrough. And Ms. Adrians, looks like you're prepared to go first.
I am. Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I think while we wait for the bill summary, I am going to walk through the numbers really quick. There will be a lot more detail, of course, in the language and when Mr. Strom and Ms. Farah walk through the language in the bill summary. But let me just give you a sense of how the spending was done in the bill. You have 3 documents that you can reference. We have 2 of the really big tracking sheets. And so one is for the aid and one is for the levies. And then the sheet that I want you to reference while I'm walking through is just this 1-page sheet that talks about all of the recommended change items that are in the bill. So as the chair stated, the committee received a target for fiscal years 18 and 19 of $30.223 million. And then in the tails, that target is $49,395,000. So the way that the spending breaks out, the first item is $50,000 for the Grand Rapids Children's Museum. This is just a one-time appropriation. And then Jake's Law, this was a bill that was heard in committee. The funding for this is one time as well, and that's $350,000. There is also money for the long-term facility maintenance enhancements, which allows schools to use some of the money for security options. And then this funding doesn't show up until the tails. So in 2020 and 2021, it's $1.7 million. And this is the amount that is in aid and general fund money. The Mind Foundry Learning Foundation, $200,000 of one-time money in fiscal 19 is appropriated for that. The Mounds View Early College Aid proposal, there's $250,000 in the bill for fiscal 19. The non-public PSEO option, this is adding 10th graders to the current non-public PSEO provision, and the cost here is $10,000 per year, and that money is ongoing, and that is in the general education formula funding. There is language for a report on school revenue to have the Office of the Legislative Auditor do a report, and this funding is $200,000, just one time in 2019. The language for Pellsby background checks, there is no cost to this. For the physical security audit grants, there's $2 million in fiscal 19. This is a one-time appropriation as well. The Promise Neighborhood grant is $80,000. This is in central Minnesota, in St. Cloud, and this is a one-time appropriation of $80,000. This goes along with some of the other Promise Neighborhood programs as well, but this is just a one-time pilot program. So as the chair talked about, there's money for safe schools, and this just breaks it out to show the different areas. So for safe schools for the co-ops, they'll receive an increase of $7.50 for the safe school formula. And that funding is $1.7 million in 19, and it increases to $1.9 million each year in the tails. For the districts and charters, they receive 18 additional dollars, and the funding for that is $16.6 million in 2019. And then in the tails, that increases to $18.4 million and then $18.6 million. There's a bit of equalization that is done on the $36 that the districts currently receive, and that is not done until the tails. So that amount is, it's about just over $2 million in the tails for that funding. The intermediates receive some additional money for the safe school revenue. They get $6.50. And this is just a one-time provision just for fiscal 19 only. And it's about $1.8 million in 19. And then there's the cleanup payment of 10% in 2020. And so that's why you see that $208,000 in the tails. The school bus safety campaign provision is in the bill, and that's $50,000 of one-time spending in 2019. The school-linked mental health grants are $5 million each year. The Monticello fix that the committee heard about for special education, this provision is in here, and the cost to our target is $1.6 million. This is to fund an additional $800,000, and then also to fund the $800 reduction that had been in the law previously for the same year. The school resource officer training language that you'll hear more about, this is funded at $400,000 for fiscal year 2019. There's an English language learner summer program, a pilot program for the St. Cloud area. This is a one-time funding amount of $420,000. The suicide prevention training program, or grant that we heard about in committee as well, $273,000 in fiscal 19. The threat assessment grants have an appropriation of $300,000 of one-time money in fiscal 19. The vocational enrichment revenue amount is $250,000. This is also one-time in fiscal 19. This is for grants to the school districts, the Fairmont example that we heard about for career and technical education to be used with extended week and summer school programs. And then finally for the spending items, the vocational PSEO grant, this is $150,000 in 2019. This is a grant that's a pilot program for Waconia School District to establish a CTE dual credit pilot program in partnership with the Hennepin County Tech College and Ridgewater College for courses in manufacturing and construction. And then on the savings side, there is a reduction to the agency budget for MDE in the tails, and this is a $1 million per year. The Crosswinds severance cancellation, this is money that as of yet has not been spent. So we reduced the appropriation by $875,000. There was in last year's bill also an administrative appropriation for the sale of Crosswinds to the Department of Administration, and they did not need to use $141,000, so that was canceled as well. The certificate incentive program, it was an amount that was just over $100,000 that was used, and the total appropriation had been $1 million. So the bill cancels $600,000 to leave $400,000 in the program, and you'll see more details about that in the language as well. There is language that adjusts the amount of money appropriated for statewide testing, and then the reduction is an estimate of to reflect the number of students that are opting out or not taking the tests. And so this adjustment is $245,000 each year in the tails, so it doesn't start until fiscal year 2020. And then there is language to adjust for the number of students that the Purpose School has, and this begins in the tails as well. So it's, the idea is to try to reflect the number of students that are attending the school, and you'll see more language as we walk through the bill on that too. And so the estimate that reflects the number of students is a reduction of $1.6 million in each of the years in the tails for that as well. So this, members, brings us to the target of $30.2 million in 18 and 19, and then $49.4 million in the tails. And then there's just one more thing, Madam Chair, I'd like to point out. We have a couple of levy items. So if you'll look at the levy tracking, the levy target for the committee is 0. And so the only changes that were made, if you'll look at just the first page of the levy tracking, on line 32, the safe schools, there is a reduction in the levy of $1.15 million. That is offset by aid spending. So the safe schools, there's not an actual reduction in the safe school spending, but it's a reduction in the levy. And then it's offset by an increase in the long-term facilities maintenance levy of the same amount, $1.15 million. So this nets out to 0 change for the levy target. And that's it.
All right, any questions for Ms. Adrians on the spending or the, what are we calling that separate sheet? Tracking sheet?
Yeah.
Tracking sheet. All right, I think we can keep going on to the rest of the presentation. Mr. Strong?
Madam Chair, I think the bill summaries will be here in just a moment, so we're going to start with the Safe Schools printout first so that we can get that out of the way, and hopefully the bill summaries will be here when we finish that. If you turn to the district-by-district printout in your packet, as Ms. Adrians explained, there's several categories of new state aid as part of the Safe Schools revenue program. And let me run through those columns for you, and you can see there what the relative distribution of that money is statewide. The printout sorted in school district number. The second column then shows the cooperative that the school district belongs to. We're using some estimated data here, so it may be we've missed a co-op or two, but that 3 or 4 digit code in the second column is the cooperative that they belong to, whether it's an intermediate or a special ed co-op or an education district or something like that. The next column of data then is the fiscal year 19 adjusted pupil units, and that shows that's the number we should be using for the February forecast showing each district's pupil units, weighted pupil count. And then the next column, the Pay 18 levy, that's the existing amount of Safe Schools levy that each district certified this past fall. The current formula is $36 per pupil of levy authority plus an additional $15 for those districts that are members of intermediate school districts. So you can see on the top summary lines that the $36 per pupil amounts to a levy of $31.7 million, and the intermediate levy about $3.9 million. That's the existing funding, the Pay 18 fiscal 19 funding. What's added to the right then are the new categories of funding under this bill. And the first of those, as Ms. Adrians explained, is $18 per pupil unit for school districts and charter schools. This is ongoing, and you can see the relative dollar amounts here. This costs $17.1 million in aid entitlement. And then there's a minimum built in. Any school district where the existing, levy and the additional $18 is less than $30,000, so these are the small school districts, then they're guaranteed at least $30,000. So in this column, it costs $1.3 million to make this change, and you can see the relative revenue amounts for each of the districts. Co-ops, as Ms. Adrian said, are new to funding in the Safe Schools program and are funded ongoing at $7.50 times the pupil count of the member districts, and that totals the $1.95 million. Then for 1 year only, in addition to the ongoing existing law, $15 of levy authority, intermediate school districts receive an additional $6.50, and those amounts show up in that column totaling about $2.07 million. All told, then, this is about $21.2 million of aid entitlement for school districts, and the last column on the right simply shows that amount per pupil unit. You'll notice most districts are going to be a little above $18. Those that are members of cooperatives are going to be somewhat higher than the $18. And the occasional district that's really large on its per pupil amount are those very small districts where the $30,000 minimum brings them up to a total of $30,000 regardless what their pupil units are. So there are a few districts there with very small kid counts that will receive a large amount per pupil. So, Madam Chair, that's the printout, and then we're ready for the bill summary if there aren't any questions on the printout.
All right, any questions on the printout on the district run? All right, not seeing any, and obviously if you have a question that occurs later, you can let us know, but, oh, Representative Mariani.
Madam Chair, this is sort of a geeky question for Mr. Strom. So it seems to me that the district charter aid and the $30,000 minimum means that those two numbers should add up to 30,000, but they don't always?
Madam
Mr.
Chair,
Strong.
Representative Mariani, the three columns, it's their existing levy in the pay 18 existing levy column, plus the charter school aid column, plus the $30,000 minimum. Those three should add up to close to 30,000, but because the existing levy was actually calculated on an older pupil base, it may not exactly equal 30,000, but it's those three columns.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Any other questions? All right, so I think, who's
We'll
starting?
I'll start, Madam
Mr.
Chair.
Strom, okay.
Hogging the microphone again today. Madam Chair, members, the document we're working off of is the DE2 amendment in your packet, and Ms. Para and I's bill summary is labeled House File 4328, dated April 16th, the delete all amendment. We'll go through this section by section, but fairly quickly describe the sections, if that's all right, ma'am.
And Mr. Strom, just, members, we incorporated the policy bill into our omnibus. So I think for those provisions that are largely the same as the policy bill, which we went through, we won't spend a lot of time, but I would ask that you specifically highlight any changes that were made to that policy bill language so members' attention is drawn to that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We'll try to do that. Sections 1 and 2 are from the policy bill and reflect the broadening of the types of non-public pupil textbooks that they can include the teacher edition, particularly when it's bundled in and a non-public school can't purchase the textbook without the teacher edition included. Section 3 is new to this committee. The Summit OIC, the Opportunity Industrialization Center, is one of the listed participants in the PSEO program as a post-secondary institution, but the current language in the statute specifies their accrediting agency, and they're using a different accrediting agency now. So the bill in Section 3 simply strikes the existing accrediting agency and requires that they be accredited. Section 4 was Representative Gruenhagen's provision from the policy bill. The next couple of sections, 5 and 6, require school districts to prepare a functional description of how they're spending their compensatory revenue. The committee had a discussion of this a month or so ago, looked at the UFARS data, and this is in response to how some of those categories on UFARS lump together the different functional activities that staff perform with that money. Section 5 then requires that the annual compensatory reports, which are already required, that they address this by functional category and that the district include this report in their World's Best Workforce Plan. Section 6 then requires the commissioner to keep track of these reports that are submitted by districts and to summarize those and send that information off to the legislature by February 15th of each year. Section 7 is related to the pupil auditors at the Department of Education. The department currently has 3 pupil auditors that do 25 audits. This was House File 4210, I believe. The change in statute is to increase the number of audits that MDE does from 25 to 50 each year. The next 4 provisions are from the policy bill and basically technical changes. Then Section 10 is Representative Poston's Joint Powers Bill. This allows a service cooperative to be defined in the definition of governmental unit as part of Chapter 471, which is our Joint Powers chapter. Section 11, there's a couple of places you'll see appropriations from last year amended in the bill. It's good to remember that 2 things happen. Any formula-driven appropriation is modified to match the formula or the forecast. So if the number of pupil counts change or something like that, we put that estimate in first, and then on top of that, if the committee makes a policy choice, that's added on top of that. So here, the general education appropriation changes in statute by $20+ million, but the only addition is the $10,000 from the fiscal note for Representative Gruenhagen's provision. Section 12 is Representative Pugh's bill that this committee discussed regarding, and the numbers are reversed there. That should be 4.2, not 2.4. The community fund transfer for the Minnetonka School District. Sections 13 and 15 are from provisions that require the legislative auditor or request the legislative auditor and appropriate $200,000 for the purpose to conduct a program evaluation of how revenue is allocated and generated across school sites, really getting at the distinction between average accounting and some other ways of allocating costs to school sites. And then Section 14, Madam Chair, is the additional appropriations in this article that Ms. Adrian's addressed. There's $420,000 for the St. Cloud School District for an English language learning academy during the summer months for the next 3 years. This money's one time, but with the 3-year carry forward, the district needs to report back to the legislature on the outcomes of the program. And there's the $50,000 that Ms. Adrian's mentioned for the school bus safety campaign that was Representative Erdahl's bill. So, Madam Chair, that's a quick summary of Article 1.
All right, any questions on Article 1? All right, Ms. Para.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Article 2, Student and School Safety. Section 1 is from the School Threat Team Assessment Bill that we heard recently. The only change is there's now a new subdivision 1, which defines school threat assessment, and that language is from the governor's bill, the governor's policy bill, and there's also some additional language in subdivision 4 from the governor's policy bill at lines 26 and 27, and on page 12, also lines 4 through 8 on things that the threat assessment teams have to do. The next few sections are amending the Pupil Fair Dismissal Act, and for the most part, these were in the policy bill, so I'll only note the changes. One of which, before I begin, because it comes up in a few provisions, is that pupil withdrawal agreements were defined in the policy bill, and there were certain provisions relating to that, and that language is not in this bill. So Section 2 is a definition of non-exclusionary disciplinary policies and procedures, policies and practices, and that's the same other than adding character education on line 28 on page 12. Section 3 is new, and that's requires a school board to expel a student who makes threat of gun violence or makes the threat with the intent to cause an evacuation. And the expulsion is for a period of 1 year, but the board can modify the expulsion on a case-by-case basis. Sections 4, 5, 6, 7 are all from the policy bill. Same for sections 8, 9, and 10, with the difference that I want to note. on lines 15 through 17 of page 16, says the pupil that is expelled or excluded remains eligible for school and mental health services. Just a slight modification there to say it's in the manner determined by the district. Section 11 is from the policy bill, same for section 12. Section 13 is long-term facilities maintenance revenue, and that authorizes the school district to amend its 10-year facilities plan to include provisions enhancing school safety through security modifications to the building, and allows this revenue to be used to purchase equipment designed to improve school security. Section 14 allows school districts to issue bonds backed by operating capital revenue for certain equipment purchases, and it allows the expandable equipment purchases. Section 15 is safe schools revenue, and I think Ms. Adrians and Mr. Strom covered that pretty well. Section 16, intermediate school district mental health innovation grants. That just clarifies that a mental health provider that is enrolled as a mental health or substance use disorder provider in the MA program that employs at least 2 full-time equivalents is eligible for a grant under this section. And then the section 17 is the appropriations, which you can see in the fiscal worksheet, that includes funds for safe schools and mental health grants, physical security audits, school resource officer training, threat assessment grants, suicide prevention training, and substance misuse prevention. Article 3 is education excellence. And again, much of this is from the policy bill. Okay. Section 1 is from the policy bill that relates to transportation of homeless students. Section 2 is from the policy bill, allowing a student to be excused from school for up to 3 days to participate in activities necessary to join a branch of the armed forces. Sections 3 and 4 kind of go together. And in the policy bill, the language that the change is on paragraph D, page 34, line 17. This language was requiring, in the policy bill, it required certain health instruction to include certain items. And so this bill makes that instruction permissive. So there's a new subdivision B that says what that may include. And so you'll see that on section 4, page 34. Subdivision 1B, so it's child sexual abuse, exploitation, sexual assault prevention, and substance misuse prevention in grades 5 through 12. The substance misuse prevention part was part of the Jake's Law bill. And so paragraph B on page 35 goes into more detail on the child sexual abuse, exploitation, sexual assault prevention instruction. Paragraph C goes more into the substance misuse prevention curriculum. And then paragraph D allows the school district to consult with other agencies or organizations to identify tools, curricula, et cetera. Paragraph E makes clear that this instruction, health instruction, is subject to 120B20, which allows parents to review a curriculum. Paragraph F is new, and that requires the Commissioner of Education to survey school districts and charter schools during the 2021-2022 school year to determine whether school districts and charter schools are using these, are implementing instruction under this subdivision. Section 5, graduation requirements, is from the policy bill. Section 6, I'll clarify, Section 5 is Representative Erdahl's credit for government and citizenship course in 11th or 12th grade. Section 6 adds definitions to the World's Best Workforce statute to align it with the state ESSA plan. Section 7, also from the policy bill, amends the performance measures under the World's Best Workforce. Section 8 9 and 10 are continuing on the World's Best Workforce Amendments to further align with ESSA. Section 11, subdivision 1 of section 120B12, this is page 40, allows the school district to use its literacy incentive aid toward its literacy goal. Subdivision 2, and part of this was this was modified from the policy bill. The change now is to when school districts have to screen for dyslexia rather than screening all students. It's students in kindergarten, first and second grade who are not reading at grade level, and students in grade 3 or higher who demonstrate a reading difficulty. And that language keys off language already in statute about districts identifying those students who were not reading at grade level or having reading difficulty. There's also a change in subdivision 4 on page 42 and 43. Professional development now includes training on screenings and intervention strategies and accommodations for students showing characteristics associated with dyslexia. And a school district can use its literacy incentive aid for these staff development purposes. Section 12 is from the policy bill. This is amending the duties of the dyslexia specialist of the Department of Education. Section 13 is from the policy bill, amending the personal learning plans, to help students access armed forces career options. Section 14 is from the policy bill. This is Jake's Law, allowing school districts and charter schools or encouraging them to provide substance misuse prevention instruction. Section 15 is from the governor's bill. This is amending the definition of proficiency. And the change here is it's eliminating the language relating to low growth, medium, high growth. There are several other changes related to this in the bill. But essentially those definitions are repealed. And so there's other appropriate changes made throughout to reflect that. Section 16, statewide testing. This is from the policy bill. It deletes some obsolete language, also relating to when the testing periods have to be. And from the governor's bill on page 51, eliminates the requirement that the commissioner establish benchmarks for career and college readiness for the assessments that students in grades 3 through 8 take. Section 17, this again is a combination of the policy bill and the governor's bill. This eliminates the definitions of assessments and above grade level, on grade level, et cetera, which means under current law, students take these assessments that change, that adapt to the student. Sometimes they're off grade questions, below or above grade. So with this language being eliminated, all the questions would be adaptive on grade. And also clarifies that the MCA student performance data and achievement reports are available to school districts and teachers within 3 days. Section 18 is from the policy bill about the information on student performance that has to be available to parents and teachers. Section 19 is from the policy bill, again relating to testing and academic growth. Section 20 is the academic achievement rating system, and this one is different from what was in the policy bill, so I'll go through those changes. The changes are in how the primary schools, secondary schools, and districts are rated. And there's a definition of each component in subdivision 2. And each of those definitions is tied to the state ESSA plan. So for primary schools, half of the rating is based on the average reading achievement rate, average math achievement rate, and the progress toward English language proficiency. And all of those terms, as I said, are defined in the state ESSA plan. 40% of the rating is based on the school's average math growth rate and average reading growth rate, and 10% is consistent attendance. For secondary schools, 50% is based on average reading achievement rate, average math achievement rate, progress toward English language proficiency. 40% is based on the 4-year and 7-year graduation rate, and 10% is consistent attendance. And finally, district ratings, 45% is based on the average reading achievement rate, average math achievement rate, and progress toward English language proficiency. 30% on reading and math, average reading and math growth rates, 20% on the 4- and 7-year graduation rate, and 5% consistent attendance. Section 21. This was in the policy bill. There's just a couple of small changes. One is on page 62, line 8. Since the definitions of low, medium, and high growth are being repealed, that's just amended to say academic growth rates as defined in 120B355, which is the new rating section. And the civics reporting is from the policy bill, and then there's also some small amendments relating to, for example, page 63, line 10 and 11, before it said, it related to proficiency or information that was required by the most recently reauthorized Elementary and Secondary Education Act, and now the reference is to the state plan, which is adopted under the most recently authorized federal act. And there also is now a requirement to have a prominent display of the star rating and achievement score, the academic achievement rates from the state plan, and progress towards statewide goals under the state plan. Section 22 also is from the policy bill. Small changes changing. Because these growth targets, these definitions were being repealed, and that how growth is being calculated is going to be different. That's just making a technical change there, and changing federal expectations to goals for, since now it's goals under the state ESSA plan. And so you'll see that change from federal expectations to state goals, and a few other spots on page 64 there. Section 23 is from the policy bill relating to PELSB, maintaining a list of essential data. Section 24 and 25 from the policy bill, and these are, yes, they're both from the policy bill. 24 is a technical change. 26 is literacy incentive aid, and there's a couple of changes. One in subdivision 3, growth aid, that's from the governor's bill, and that's again relating to how growth is being defined. Subdivision 4, revenue uses. It's providing uses for literacy revenue aid related to proficiency changes. Section 27 is from the policy bill. This relates to charter school admissions and requirements, and there were just a couple of changes. Before, there were changes to subdivisions 6 and 7. You'll see those on page 68, and there are no changes there anymore. It's just current law. Section 28 is from the policy bill, again relating to essential data that the department used to maintain and now is maintained by PELSB. Section 29, certification incentive revenue, reduces the incentive funding and clarifies the time when the funding can be used, and extends the reporting requirements. And Section 30 is the change in the funding. Section 31 adds funding for the Grand Rapids Children's Museum. Section 32 allows fiscal year 2018 funding to carry over for the SANE-based pilot program. Section 33 allows charter schools to receive grants for grow your own programs. Section 34 reduces fiscal year 2020 and 2021 the base funding for testing based on student participation on the MCAs. Section 35 is the appropriations that you can see on the tracking sheet. Section 36 is our reviser's instruction to move the sections on intermediate school districts that are currently in Chapter 136D over to Chapter 123C, so it's now within the K-12 education code. Section 37 is a repealer from the governor's bill, repealing, again, those definitions of low, medium, high growth, and growth towards proficiency, which was based on the definitions of low, medium, and high growth. Article 4.
All right, any questions for Ms. Para at this point? All right, I think we'll keep plowing through.
Okay. Section 1 is from the policy bill, amending the school counselor statute to encourage school counselors to present and explain armed forces career options and benefits. Section 2 is codifying the teacher code of ethics, which is currently in rule, and adding that a teacher must not engage in any sexual contact with a student. Section 3 is adding a reference to the code of ethics to that new section. Section 4, teacher background checks, eliminates the option for PELSB to issue a teacher license while a background check is pending. Section 5 is from the policy bill, and it allows school employees who provide career advice to partly satisfy continuing education requirements by attending training on armed forces career options or careers in the skilled trades and manufacturing. Section 7, I'm sorry, did I skip one? Yes, Section 6 requires PELSB to request a background check on a licensed teacher applying for a renewal license if the teacher has not had a background check in the last 5 years. Section 7, grounds for revocation, suspension, or denial. So this adds to the list of grounds on which PELSB must refuse to renew or automatically revoke a teacher's license without the right to a hearing. PELSB would also take this if there's a stay of adjudication for offenses requiring registration as a predatory offender, and requires PELSB or BOSA, which is the Board of School Administrators, to refuse to issue, refuse to renew, or revoke a teacher's license if there's a conviction of a felony or gross misdemeanor involving a minor, although the board can reconsider that. Section also requires these two boards to refuse to issue, refuse to renew, or revoke a license if the teacher has engaged in sexual penetration with a student, and allows PELSB and BOSA to suspend a license while the investigation is ongoing. Section 8, mandatory reporting, clarifies that BOSA and PELSB have to report maltreatment to a welfare agency and to law enforcement. Sections 9 and 10, those are the teacher tenure and contract statutes, so that's why the change is there twice, but it adds a cross-reference to Section 122A20, Subdivision 1, which was that section that was amended listing the grounds on which a school board must immediately discharge a teacher for those grounds where the license is revoked immediately. And it requires the school board to discharge a teacher when there's a stay of adjudication for offenses requiring predatory offender registration. There's a number of these stay of adjudication pieces, but they all apply only for offenses requiring predatory offender registration. And I'll just say stay of adjudication now because it's in a number of these provisions. Section 11, this is new, and it requires the school district to notify teachers of their authority to remove students from the class. Section 12 is from the policy bill, and it's just a technical change. Section 13 requires a school hiring authority to request a new criminal history background check on all employees every 5 years. Section 14 eliminates the option for a district to hire an individual while a background check is pending. Sections 15, 16, 17, and 18 all relate to school bus drivers, and they all have this stay of adjudication piece for offenses requiring predatory offender registration. where the bus drivers would not be able to have their driver's license, their commercial driver's licenses or the appropriate endorsement. Section 19 requires the superintendent of the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension to require court administrators to report stays of adjudication. Section 20 requires the superintendent of the BCA to disclose stays of adjudication under the when there's a background check relating to school employees, teacher licensure, or school bus drivers. Section 21, again, is relating to this stay of adjudication piece and how it's reported to the BCA. Sections 22 and 23 are from the policy bill. 22 is a technical change, and 23 is amending the definition of sexual abuse. Section 24 adds the member of a board whose licensees perform work within a school facility, like Pellsby or BOSA, to the list of mandated reporters. Section 25 requires law enforcement to notify Pellsby or BOSA of a report of maltreatment by a licensee. Section 26 requires the Commissioner of Education to inform a licensing board that a report of maltreatment was received, subject of the report, the date of the report, the category of maltreatment, and the fact that maltreatment was not determined with a summary of the reasons. Section 27, again, is relating to how these stays of adjudications are reported. Section 28 requires Pellsby to survey board-approved teacher prep programs on their dyslexia instruction offerings, and Pellsby can consult with a dyslexia specialist at MDE. And Section 29 is the repealer, which is that's relating to the Code of Ethics and the fact that it's moving from rule to statute.
Any questions for Ms. Para on Article 4? All right, Article 5.
Madam Chair, members, Article 5 is the special education article. The first section simply eliminates some obsolete language. The second section amends the provision that this committee passed last year regarding the Monticello School District. As members may recall, the district was subject to a change in circumstance. It moved its program from a fiscal host to a cooperative organization. Preliminary estimates of the revenue to be received by the cooperative organization proved to be different than the actual amounts. As a result, the state made an overpayment to the Monticello School District. Last year's legislation gave the Monticello School District one additional year to make the repayments. This year's changes in Section 2 essentially forgive the debt owed to the Monticello, or owed by the Monticello School District to the Department of Education for the special education correction. Section 3 is the appropriation for special education. There's a rather large adjustment for the forecast adjustment, and then an additional $1.6 million is added in fiscal year 19 for the Monticello adjustment. Section 4 is the special education working group, and this language is the same as came to you as part of the policy bill. Madam Chair, that's a summary of Article 5.
All right, and Article 6.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Para will address a few of the provisions in here related to the data privacy issues, if that's all right. Section 1 has to do with school districts and their disposal of school computers. There's a process in statute that municipalities and the state need to follow when they surplus equipment. There's currently an exemption for school districts that carves out a number of ways that they can dispose of unneeded computer equipment. This provision adds an additional category as well, and after those other provisions are met, would allow a school district to sell out-of-date or used laptops and tablets and those kinds of things to the students if the other uses of the surplus equipment are not met. Section 2 is from the governor's bill and simply allows districts that don't operate all grades of a high school, whether that's through an agreement for secondary education or an interdistrict cooperation agreement, to equally share or to share proportionately in the levies for building improvements.
Madam Chair, and I'll go through sections 3, 4, and 5.
All right.
So sections sections 4 and 5, because they're written for school districts, we have section 3, which makes those requirements also apply to charter schools. So section 4 is technology provider requirements, and this was in the policy bill. We just have a few changes. One is the definition of technology provider. There's now also entity on line 22 on page 125. The definition is slightly modified, but not major substantive changes. And then on subdivision 2 on page 126, language relating to technology providers commercializing the educational data was deleted. That was paragraph E under subdivision 2. Subdivision 3, I believe, is the same. And then section 5, school district requirements, there was previously a notice subdivision, that was subdivision 1, relating to posting the contracts with the technology providers. And there was also some opt-out language before. Now it's subdivision 1 requires the school board to make the contract available on request. And subdivision 2 is training, and that's modified. The district is not required to provide training, but rather to provide information on available trainings on compliance with the applicable laws, provide that information to employees that have access to educational data, and also to provide employees and independent contractors that have that access to provide them written materials on compliance with the law. New language is paragraphs B and C. A school district employee with access to educational data is encouraged to participate in training opportunities provided by a school district, including free online training on FERPA, which is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. And paragraph C requires the Commissioner of Education to provide a school district with information on how employees and independent contractors with access to educational data may access written materials on compliance with the law. There was previously a section subjecting the non-public schools to these requirements, and that section is not here.
Madam Chair, members, Section 6 is an issue brought to us in the governor's bill. The appropriation for the Regional Library Telecommunications Access Aid looks to be larger than what's necessary to meet those costs. You may recall that the governor recommended transferring that surplus to school districts. This section instead authorizes the Commissioner of Education to make grants within the regional library system for expanded access to the internet, to broadband, and including such things as the regional library systems purchasing portable hotspots for the library patrons to check out and use. So the same concept, Madam Chair, that the surplus within that stay for telecommunications needs, but the proposal here is that it stay within the libraries for those additional telecommunications needs. Sections 7, 8, and 9 of this bill are provisions from a bill that Representative Lomer carried. The language that's reflected here reflects an amendment adopted in the Senate to the similar provisions on the Senate side. And briefly what these do, these have to do with aligning the information that's provided to voters during an election to the actual activities that the school board carries out in its construction plan. Section 7 amends a section of the election law and says that a school district, in addition to posting a sample ballot, also needs to post at the same time the review and comment and any supplemental information regarding the proposed bond election for taxpayers and voters to review. Section 8 changes the word may not to must not in Chapter 475 for purposes of how the bond proceeds can use. I believe some folks feel that reads a little clearer to say it in that way. Section 9 makes one last change then, and this requires that the ballot question not only state the amount of money or the maximum dollar value of the bonds that the school district intends to let, but also requires that the ballot questions state the name of the plan approved by the commissioner as part of the review and comment. So for example, if a school district had 3 building plans and one of them were the blue plan, the blue plan's name would appear in the ballot question as well as the dollar amount of the bonds being authorized. Section 10, Madam Chair, is the change to the regional library telecommunications aid, just making sure there's carry forward authority on this money so that no balance would cancel as of July 1st, 2018. Madam Chair, members, Article 7 is the nutrition article. The first provision here clarifies the cross-references to allow contracts for up to 4 years. This is a provision that you amended last year to allow those contracts to run for up to 4 years for most of the programs, but there are a couple of special programs, the summer food service and child and adult care food programs, that this provision would also allow those contracts to run for 4 years. The second section deals with the respectful school meals policy, and this language, essentially the language is dealing with demeaning or stigmatizing behavior, prohibiting the school district, which is referred to as a participant in statute, from denying a school lunch to any participating student, from recapturing that lunch once it's been put on a tray, those kinds of things. And in addition, there are limitations at the end of subdivision 5 that prohibit a school district from limiting a student's participation in any kind of school activity, including graduation or field trips, those kinds of things, if there are unpaid student meal balances. And finally, there's a prohibition against disciplining a student who has an unpaid student meal balance. Madam Chair, members, Article 8 is the Early Childhood and Family Support article of the bill. Section 1 is clarifying language from the governor's bill that assessments given to voluntary pre-kindergarten pupils be age appropriate. Section 2 is an issue that's been around in a couple of different ways. Currently, there are 4 regions for the voluntary pre-kindergarten program. This provision splits the region that currently consists of Minneapolis and St. Paul into 2 separate regions. It won't affect the overall funding or the funding for other regions because it's all based on the proportionate number of pupils in those regions. So it simply splits Minneapolis and St. Paul into 2 separate regions. Section 3 is new to the bill and requires the commissioner to provide districts with a process for measuring kindergarten readiness of the incoming kindergarten students. It requires school districts to report the results of kindergarten entry assessments that are given to their participants in early ed programs, and requires the commissioner to summarize and report that information as part of the performance reporting. Section 4 is from the governor's bill, eliminates the requirement to verify parental income for those parents of homeless children or children in need of protective services in order to participate in the Early Learning Scholarship Program. Section 5 clarifies the preschool screening timelines for the Early Learning Scholarship Program. Section 6 removes some obsolete language. And then the next several sections are from the governor's bill. These reflect 3 of the 4 sections that the governor initially sent us regarding background checks for tribal schools and Head Start programs. The 4th of those sections, the department asked us to remove from the bill, so the language in 7, 8, and 9 is the recommended language from the department regarding the background checks. Section 10 requires that the Kindergarten Readiness Plus program, that the assessments given must be age appropriate, and also clarifies the criteria for School Readiness Plus instructors to match the agreement that was reached at the end of last session. Madam Chair, members, getting close to the end here. Article 9 combines 2 usual articles in the bill. It's the Community Education, Prevention, Self-Sufficiency, and Lifelong Learning article, and those words can all fit on a single line still, so have to keep from adding more to that. There's a couple of changes, 3 changes in here that are simply conforming the language of high school equivalency tests from the older language, which referred only to the GED, to the new provisions that allow the commissioner to select and approve more than one high school equivalency test. Sections 2 and 5 have to do with the Educational Partnership Program. Section 2, Representative Haley's bill added additional criteria for the commissioner to use when evaluating grant applications. Section 5 provides additional funding of $80,000 for 1 year for a grant to the St. Cloud Promise neighborhood as a participant in Tier 2 of the Educational Partnerships Program. Madam Chair, members, Article 10 is the agencies article. There are 3 changes here that Ms. Adrians has already addressed. Article 1 reduces MDE's base budget by $1 million per year beginning in fiscal year 2020. Section 2 makes the 2 changes Ms. Adrians mentioned to the Perpich Center, the one being the current $1.2 million that was specifically set aside for severance costs for the former Crosswinds employees is reduced to $325,000. And the second change is the adjustment to the Perpich Center's base budget for fiscal years 20 and 21. Section 3 is a provision related to the appropriation to the Perpich Center that was transferred to the Department of Administration for the Department of Administration's estimated costs of disposing of the Crosswinds School. $162,000 was originally appropriated for that purpose last year. According to the state accounting system, the Department of Administration has spent $21,000 on that disposition, and as committee members may recall, that building has now been sold to the St. Paul School District. Madam Chair, finally, the last article without title, I just used too many words on the previous article, is the forecast adjustment article. And all of the changes in this article modify fiscal year 18 and 19 appropriations from the 2017 bill. Anything that's formula driven is modified to match the February forecast. So all the changes in this article are real, but they have 0 fiscal impact because they align the forecast and the actual appropriations for those programs based on the formula amounts, the pupil counts, and other things, the costs that adjust each of those formulas. So all of these changes that are within this article are without cost for this committee. Madam Chair, that's a summary of the DE2 amendment to House File 4328.
All right, thank you, Mr. Strom, Ms. Adrians, Ms. Kara. Appreciate you going through that. Any questions at this point before we turn to the commissioner? Representative Mariani.
Hopefully, actually, very quick questions, because I suspect when we mark it up, we'll get into fuller discussions here. But I just want to be sure. So just very quickly, let me see. So on page 35, on line 3512 through 3515, I believe this is the language that was added in Policy Committee by Representative May Quaid in regards to informed consent. It looks like we're using new language here, which speaks of reject unwanted advances. So I suspect we'll debate this, but I just want to very quickly confirm that this language does replace the May Quaid amendment that was added in policy. And then I guess the other, and I'm seeing a nod, an affirmative nod from our policy chair.
But yes, that's correct, Representative Mariani.
And then I guess, and I did send a message over to Representative May Quaid, but I haven't heard from her yet. Was this change done with conference with the author of that amendment? Because I really don't know whether that happened or not.
Well, I have not personally spoken with Representative McQuaid. I do know that the chair of the policy committee was consulted with the change that was made in this DE amendment.
And so, Madam Chair, perhaps that's a question for our policy chair, whether or not this change was made in conference with the author of that amendment, Representative May-Quade.
Representative Erickson.
Madam Chair and Representative Mariani, these changes were made based on the remarks that I made during the acceptance of the amendment in committee, where I mentioned that it would have to be replaced in the same section as child abuse and that character education should be considered.
And then,
Representative Mariani.
Madam Chair, then on page 59, this has to do with the rating system. What we've been commonly calling the star rate, well, it actually calls for a star rating system. So I just want to, this language looks different to me. I just want to confirm, is this a brand-new formula from what we saw coming from the policy bill?
Yes, Representative Mariani, it has changed, and we did try to take into great consideration suggestions or recommendations or concerns brought by MDE to make sure that this was more in line with ESSA and with requirements of that law as well.
Okay. Madam Chair, I have one final question on Article 4, Section 2. There's a Code of Ethics section. I note that there's a repeal later of the Pelsby Code of Ethics, or rather a repeal of the Pelsby directive to establish a Code of Ethics. So is this language a crossover from that? And perhaps this was in the government bill, I just don't remember. Whether there's a connection between this and the Pelsby language then.
Right. I'm going to let Ms. Parra answer that just to make sure I don't misstate it. Ms. Parra.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Mariani, the Code of Ethics, it's all what was in rule by the Board of Teaching with one addition, and that is line 77, line 19 on page 77, new paragraph K. A teacher must not engage in any sexual contact with a student. That's not in the current rule.
Thank you, Ms. Parra. Thank you, Madam Chair. That's helpful. So then we're codifying what, for the most part, what has been in the Pelsby Code.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Representative Dabney.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm a bit of the same territory that Representative Mariani was on in terms of the star rating system. And I think if we look at the language on 59.28 to 59.31, I might be able to focus my questions. I'm trying to understand how the growth rate is calculated here, because growth to proficiency model isn't meaningful enough of a phrase to me, and I particularly don't understand the reference to the state reading test in determining the state the math growth. So how are we doing this? And I'm betting there's some follow-up questions.
Ms. Parra.
Madam Chair, Representative Dabney. So this definition of growth rate is, and you'll see the last line says is consistent with the state plan. So, pull that up. Oh, and I see there's a typo there on line 30 where it says reading and should say math, but the point is the same. The state ESSA plan awards points based on transition between does not meet standards, partially meet standards, and exceed standards. And so that's what that is based on, that matrix that is in the state ESSA plan. And it says average because what the state ESSA plan does is it awards points at the group level, meaning all students, including for the all students group, and then divides the number of points, the number of students with scores to find the student group average. So there's a student group average, and student groups, I mean, African American, Hispanic, et cetera. and then each group is accorded equal weight. So that is how the school average is calculated under the state ESSA plan.
Madam Chair.
Representative Dabney.
First up, page 60.5, you'll find, 60.5, you'll find a reference to the math test in the reading growth section. So there's just a little flop there.
We have noted those.
Okay, very good. There were concerns raised last week that the growth rate in the previous bill was taking the fourth grade test, for instance, how'd Jim do on that, and then the fifth grade test and how'd Jim do on that, and saying, well, that's the growth. But it was well established that that was an invalid measure because A, you're giving me two different tests, so you're not seeing how I'm doing on the same test over time. And the two tests aren't vertically aligned, and the cut scores are different. And so you're not actually presenting valid data on growth if that's the way you're doing it. And I'm still not understanding, are we still using that model in this new language? Or where are we getting the data on growth, and is it valid?
Ms. Para.
Madam Chair, Representative Dabney, MDEs probably will be able to answer that question better. The definition is taken from the ESSA plan, which says students receive points based on the change in their achievement levels between the previous test and the current test.
Thank you. Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? All right, if not, I think we will go ahead and turn to public testimony. And I would like to invite Commissioner Casalius forward to start that off. Welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, Commissioner Brenda Casalius, Minnesota Department of Education. First, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to testify to House File 4328. There's a lot to absorb in this bill, including a lot of new policies, so I'll highlight most, but not all, of the proposals that I'd like to comment on, but I promise that I'll follow it up with a letter to make sure that you have point by point what we are concerned about and what we think we still need to work on. As you know, the governor says a budget is a reflection of our values. That is why the governor listened to teachers and school superintendents when he put together his supplemental budget bill. Although a small bill, he prioritized those things that our stakeholders told him were his top priorities. Those were safe schools, special education cross subsidies, pre-K and School Readiness Plus maintenance funding, funding the GED, fixing our Q-Comp, and then funding our BIE schools. So let me start with some of the provisions in the bill that I'd like to thank you for in supporting and also supporting the governor's desire to increase school safety in particular. You have several provisions in your bill that show your shared interest in school levies, threat assessments, mental health grants, and I thank you for taking a strong stand to keep our kids safe. However, I cannot support the language that takes away local control regarding expulsion, mandatory expulsions, because it brings us more toward a zero tolerance policy, which is proven to not work for our kids. It also could possibly interfere with our students' protections under the IDEA special education law and the local school districts' IEP teams. Also, mental health grants need to be expanded. As you know, many of them have waiting lists, and I think your supplanting provision disallows them from, the way I understand it, disallows them from expanding to sites that already are given a school mental health grant, which there could be a lot of kids still waiting at that one site. So giving DHS the authority to determine where those ought to go, I think, is smart policy. I think also within the school safety bill, funding the intermediates ongoing is important. I think if we provide SRO training, that they should be trained in both child development and cultural competence. These would be two really important areas for our school resource officers to have training in, besides threat assessments and school safety measures. And I'd like to also thank you for a few other things. So I'd like to thank you and Representative Erickson for your respectful school lunch policies. I think they're strong, and I very much appreciate you protecting students and their personal dignity around school lunch and school lunch debt. Also, that they're not disciplined or restricted from co-curricular activities. I just can't thank you enough for your compassion with that. I also appreciate the taking out of the CCSSR Ready 3 through 8 and off grade level. We've come for a couple of years in a row for this. It lines nicely with ESSA. I also appreciate the splitting of the Minneapolis and St. Paul pots of money so that we can better create equity among the two large urban systems and better get out our early childhood funding. And then finally, I'd like to say thank you for the expanded authority to MDE to investigate teacher maltreatment. I think that those are smart policies and funding provisions within the bill that we can support. You and the governor and I have received 191 resolutions from school boards across the state telling us that special ed cross-subsidy was their #1 priority. The governor listened and put in investments to get a start on curbing the unfunded expenses of delivering high-quality services to our kids. I'm disappointed this bill does not make those same investments and begin to address the significant cross-subsidies. The governor focused his investments on a few priorities, but this bill kind of spreads them all out among several different grants equaling $7.8 million. I've spoken before and spoken with you privately about more transparent ways to fund grants. I encourage this body to create an innovation fund. I said the same thing in the Senate, to spawn new solutions to tough problems, to give equal access to to state funding for innovative ideas and partnerships, and to fairly allocate scarce resources on the merits of the proposal for startup and the evidence of their success for scale-up proposals. It is curious how Minnetonka, Mounds View, Monticello, and other wealthier districts got special privilege in this bill when Minneapolis and St. Paul public schools are facing huge deficits. It's perplexing that we complain about disparities and argue about money and how it should be targeted to our poorest kids, while our poorest kids in concentrated poverty live in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and we haven't discussed them at all. It's as if they were invisible. But they are in crisis in our two large urban districts with huge, huge cuts. At what point does the state step in and help out? One real way we could help these districts would be give serious consideration to bills that aggressively remediate the unfunded costs of special education. Minneapolis alone has $59 million in unfunded costs, St. Paul $42 million. Duluth and St. Cloud have similar numbers and have some of the largest achievement gaps and highest percentages of students with high-need disabilities and high-cost disabilities, and therefore debilitating cross-subsidies that grow every single year. As you know, this impacts all kids, and this year these districts are facing deep, deep cuts. I've come before this committee year after year fighting for equitable and adequate funding for all our kids in Minnesota. This is especially true for our American Indian kids, who have special protections under the law. We've made significant progress as a body, bipartisan progress, including our 11 sovereign tribes, to equal the playing field for our American Indian kids. This bill puts that at risk because the sustainable funding for our BIE schools is non-existent in this bill. Should our kids attending BIE kids be so grossly underfunded just because the federal government doesn't live up to their responsibilities? I urge you to reconsider and fund our BIE schools with ongoing funding in the base. We've discussed literacy aid, and your bill addresses it. However, we could be much more strategic. There's almost $50 million a year put into literacy aid. I asked Dr. Melcher recently to provide me with the runs about who gets funded and how much. Because of the way it was originally structured in 2011, our wealthiest districts and charters fare better than our poorer, more diverse districts and charters. If we're serious about disparities, this one sticks out like a sore thumb. If it can't be addressed this year, I strongly suggest a literacy working group or that it is recaptured next year and put toward our kids that need it the most. It absolutely is not working to increase reading scores, which have stayed stagnant for several decades now. And although this language to survey districts on standards is probably a very important piece of work, the agency cuts will make this work so difficult and probably impossible to do in a high-quality manner. It is no surprise that I'm very disappointed that we are delaying making our pre-K School Readiness Plus programs permanent. I just can't see why we would ask school districts and families to believe we are serious about closing gaps and expanding access to early childhood and then pull the rug from underneath these families and schools, causing significant uncertainty for our families and for our schools. It's just not fair. Furthermore, I don't understand why we wouldn't allow scholarships to be used for younger children when advocates argue so clearly that the earlier we intervene, especially for low-income children, the better. It makes no sense. Yeah, I agree it needs more money. Well, why don't we see a proposal from this body to expand scholarships? The governor has supported scholarship expansion, school-based options for parents, and Head Start for our poorest kids. He's supported all of that, a mixed delivery system all 8 years he's been governor. And the fight over one way or the other is unnecessary. More early learning access to as many kids as possible is what is the governor's goal. But this year, he proposed a do no harm proposal for maintaining just the current investments that we have with a very, very small growth. It's what's needed. We need urgency to make this funding permanent and to keep our 3,000 kids in their slots, in their preschool, and our 60 school districts funded. When we have more schools being identified under ESSA and new requirements around accountability, I don't understand why there are cuts to the agency's base budget by $2 million in the out years, especially when the legislature just voted to increase salaries. That's a double whammy to the agency. Why cripple the next administration's ability to deliver on our promises? The work isn't going to get easier. It's only going to get harder as we support our schools throughout the entire state with our new ESSA plan. We've identified so many more schools and they need the support. Not to mention, there's a lot of work given in this bill. But with the proposed $2 million cut and no new funding, I don't know how we can get it done. To just name a few things in this bill, we have almost $3 million in new grants that we would have to administer. How do we collect and report on basic skills revenue? How do we survey on the implementation of local health standards or the review of curriculum standards? How do we double the amount of school finance audits we do? How do we implement a 5-star rating with this reduced funding? The governor has expressed his interest in continuing to increase work readiness to ensure all Minnesotans have a shot at a good job and a fair wage. The baseline for opportunity to that goal is a high school diploma or equivalency test at minimum. I don't understand how this bill could find $7.8 million in small grants, but couldn't find $400,000 to help our kids who were failed after 13 years of investment in their education. 13 years is equal to about $150,000 per student, and we can't find $120 to take an equivalency test? It just makes no sense at all. The governor has been clear. He wants the policy bills to run separate than the finance bills. He especially doesn't want finance bills full of policy, which this one is. There is so much new policy in this bill, it makes it difficult to support at all. Not to mention, it clearly misses the target to consider the governor's top priority request. It needs a lot of work and would be easier to navigate with all the policy. To just give you an idea of some of the policy items that are problematic, and there are just too many to list, but I will be sure to provide a letter to the chairs with the top concerns. I cannot support continuing to give importance to the current requirements for students to take the naturalization test. I just spoke with Representative Ertl earlier, and I hope that we'll have a meeting soon. But if the desire is to provide more civics instruction, I'm okay with requiring high school credit so long as it does not increase the requirements for overall credits in social studies, which it doesn't. I, however, will not support collecting or reporting on passage rates on a naturalization test. If this body wants to assess civics, let's not dumb down our social studies standards. Let's make a real test, or, like Representative Erickson suggested the other day, let's incorporate it into our writing test. But of course, that too would need funding. Speaking of funding assessments, opt-outs do not impact agency budgets to administer the MCAs. Punishing the agency and putting at risk our administration of the MCA is irresponsible and unwise and puts at risk our overall MCA administration. I just want to remind the committee of my strong concerns with the current tiered license law and the new requirements for dyslexia screening. Tier 1 to Tier 3 teachers must be properly prepared and trained for such an important job as determining if a student has dyslexia. This is true of all our teachers. They should be prepared, as the governor has proposed in his bill, but especially for such high-stakes evaluations such as this. Although we don't oversee Perpich, I'm concerned that when they're trying to put together a strong program, they are getting their funding reduced. It's just not helpful at all and may be perceived as undermining their success. I hope you will reconsider the cuts to Perpich. At every step, it seems we are taking more out of the governor's proposal on the pupil fare dismissal changes, so I really would like to work with you on those changes to be assured that they are aligned and appropriate. And finally, this bill does not address the lead in water. We've been working, and my team has been working with everybody to try to find peace in the valley so that we could have stronger language about parent notification when there's lead in the water, and a way for schools to, and a demand that schools actually do something about it, that they shut off the faucet and don't allow kids to drink out of those faucets. I would like to thank Representative Erickson, who met with us last week, and her staff for their work to better align ESSA and the reporting system. Now, I can't say strongly enough, and I've made my concerns known all along, that I cannot support a star rating system. I feel that it's a workaround of our stakeholder engagement process for ESSA, whereby we had over 300 meetings and thousands of stakeholders who gave us input. The simplified star rating system goes outside of our process and undermines the work of our ESSA committees these past 2 years. I want to remind the committee that we're already designing an ESSA-aligned report card that with our new approved accountability system is required under federal law. We cannot deviate from our approved accountability system. I have met with Representative Erickson, my Chief Accountability Officer, and provided her with several pages of side-by-side comparison of how this bill language is different than ESSA. She's addressed many of those concerns. However, there are two in particular that are problematic. Counter groups are not included, which will completely impact and throw off our accountability, and weighting of the measures has to be addressed. So those are two pieces we saw in the short time we've had this bill. So I want to commend you for working on those alignments. However, there are two major outstanding issues with it, not to mention the star rating, which I can't support. Again, our team is committed to a transparent, easy-to-read report card with summary statements about a school's progress, and look forward to continuing to work on the language so it's not confusing to our public, our parents, or our teachers. I wanted to also, before I stand for questions, last week when I was here, Representative Erickson had suggested that the governor hadn't brought forward a school safety bill. And so I went ahead and worked with the DOSH to get one drafted. So we have, this one includes school levy, it includes mental health grants, and it includes pupil fare dismissal act changes. You know, there's other language in this bill around threat assessments, SRO training, and that sort of thing. So this is just a starting point to get the bill moving so that we can get it to the governor's desk as soon as possible. I hope you would support me in doing a clean bill. I know I'm going to also look for support in the Senate side as well so that we can start moving this bill forward and getting getting this to the governor's desk. I'll stand for questions. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. And would you be able to come back at 5:30? Because I have a feeling we may have more questions.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, we have an assistant commissioner from DHS here, I think strictly on the mental health grants. If we could, if you want to wait, I think that's fine. I don't know if we'll have many questions for Assistant Commissioner Wilson. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Claire Wilson. I'm an Assistant Commissioner at the Department of Human Services, and I will just be very brief. I just want to really thank you all for the inclusion of the additional $5 million for the SchoolLink mental health grants, and also for the clarification around the eligible providers for the Intermediate School District Mental Health Innovation Grants. There's just a few things that the department will look forward to working with you on. One is that in the governor's budget around the SchoolLink mental health grants, there was funding included for additional staff to oversee the grants that will be necessary to really assure the success of the grants and the expansion. We also want to make sure that we bring some of this language into alignment with other language that's in the governor's budget that assures flexibility and safeguards for the funding. And then finally, while it is called out that some of these dollars could be utilized for transportation, we would also be supportive of some of these dollars being utilized for the technology and services necessary to deliver the SchoolLink mental health grants via telemedicine. So again, many thanks for the inclusion of the additional $5 million, and then just a few things that we look forward to working with you on as this progresses.
All right, thank you, Assistant Commissioner Wilson. Any questions for Assistant Commissioner? I'm trying to see if we don't need you to come back this evening. I'm sorry, Commissioner Casalius, who probably will have to have you back. Any questions for Assistant Commissioner Wilson? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate your testimony. Okay, and we have one parent who's here with an interpreter, so I wanted to get their testimony in as well.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Me llamo Perla Carranza.
My name is Perla Carranza.
Tengo dos hijos, uno de 5 años y una niña de 12 años.
I have 2 children, a 5-year-old son and a 12-year-old daughter.
Quiero aprovechar esta oportunidad
I would like to take this opportunity
para darles a conocer algunos problemas que enfrentamos a diario
to let you know some of the problems we face on a daily basis,
y que como resultado hace que nuestros hijos pierdan oportunidades,
and that as a result of this, our children are missing out on opportunities,
se atrasen académicamente
fall behind academically,
y nosotros como padres somos los últimos en enterarnos.
and us as parents are the last ones to find out.
Por ejemplo,
For example,
los maestros no nos hablan con honestidad y claridad.
teachers do not talk to us honestly and clearly.
Con esto quiero decir
By this I mean
que los maestros no comunican exactamente cómo están los niños en la escuela,
that teachers are not communicating clearly how our children are doing in school.
cómo puede ser posible que a los niños los pasen de grado y no saben nada,
How can it be possible that a child graduates from their grade level and they don't know anything of that grade?
pero el día de la conferencia
The day of the parent-teacher conference,
el maestro nos dice,
the teacher will tell us,
su niño está muy bien,
your child is doing very well.
socializa con los otros niños,
He socializes with the other kids.
no participa mucho,
He doesn't participate much.
pero ahí va, poco a poco.
There he goes, little by little.
Y ya uno se va contento que
So-
nos hablaron maravillas del niño.
So one leaves happy, thinking that about the wonders that we've been told.
Pero la realidad es que el niño ya está en quinto grado
But the reality is that the student is in 5th grade,
y no sabe leer,
does not know how to read,
no sabe dividir.
does not know how to divide.
Pero ¿acaso la maestra no decía que el niño era muy bien, iba muy bien?
But didn't the teacher just tell us that the child was doing so well?
Eso es inaceptable.
That's not acceptable.
He visto tantos casos.
I've seen so many cases.
al punto que yo podría quedarme aquí hablando todo el día y toda la noche.
to the point I could stay talking about these cases day and night.
¿Cómo puede ser posible que los maestros no les preocupe la educación de los alumnos?
How can it be possible that teachers are not worried about the education of their students?
Claramente no les importa.
Clearly, they don't care.
Yo era maestra de kinder
I was a kindergarten teacher,
y mi prioridad era que si entraban 10 niños a mi clase,
and my priority was that if 10 children came into my class,
los 10 niños salieran con el mismo aprendizaje.
all 10 would leave with the same knowledge base.
Y si alguno se retrasaba,
And if one of them fell behind,
era mi deber como maestra tratar de ayudarlo.
it was my duty as their teacher to try to help them.
Y al fin de año me sentía orgullosa por ver su progreso y mi compromiso.
And at the end of the year, I'd feel proud to see their progress and my dedication.
Creo que ese debe ser el trabajo de todos los maestros.
I believe that should be the job of every teacher.
Ahora, necesitamos buenos maestros que se comprometan con la educación, que nos hablen claro y
Now-
si el niño sabe o no.
Right now, we need good teachers who are committed to the education, who speak to us clearly whether our children have learned or not, and they teach us clearly, yes.
Y no como el maestro lo puede, y cómo el maestro lo puede apoyar y cómo los padres podemos apoyar desde casa.
And how the teacher can support them and how a parent can support from home.
Necesitamos mejorar las escuelas.
We need to improve schools.
Necesitamos saber qué calificación tienen las escuelas
We need to know the rating of the schools
para saber si la escuela es apropiada para nuestros hijos.
to know if the school is appropriate for our children.
Necesitamos que si 100 alumnos entran a la escuela,
We need that if 100 children enter the school,
esos 100 alumnos se gradúen
those 100 students graduate
sin distinciones,
without disparity,
sin importar su cultura.
without disparity based on culture.
Todos debemos tener los mismos derechos
We should all have the same rights
y oportunidades.
and opportunities,
También acceso a mejores escuelas.
and also access to better schools.
Necesitamos que realmente nos dejen elegir las escuelas que consideramos es la mejor para nuestros hijos.
We need to be truly allowed to choose the schools we believe are the best for our children,
Y que no nos discriminen por no vivir en esos vecindarios.
and not to be discriminated against for not living in those neighborhoods.
Las escuelas que nos ofrecen tienen un nivel muy bajo
The schools that are offered to us have a very low level.
y eso es inaceptable.
That's not acceptable.
Una de dos,
One of two things.
o nos dejan elegir o hacen algo para que esas escuelas sean de nivel más alto.
Either you allow us to choose our schools, or you do something so that those schools we are assigned to are of a higher level.
Son muchos los problemas que hay en las escuelas.
There are many of the problems that exist in the schools.
La mayoría de las veces
Most of the times,
nadie tiene soluciones.
no one has a solution.
Solo le echan la culpa a los niños o a los papás.
They just blame children or parents.
Muy pocas personas dentro de las escuelas son responsables.
Very few people within the school system are responsible.
Por todo lo que les he dicho anteriormente
Based on everything that I've said previously,
y por las cosas que no puedo decirles ahora
and based on the things I cannot say right
por
now
falta de tiempo,
due to the lack of time,
les pido que sean responsables y le den una calificación a todas las escuelas.
I ask that you be responsible and that you give a rating to all the schools.
Una calificación que sea fácil de entender
A rating that's easy for us to understand
en nuestras comunidades,
in our communities,
para que nosotros podamos hacer las mejores decisiones para nuestros hijos.
so that we can make the best choices for our children.
Muchas gracias por su atención.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ms.
Perla.
Carranza. Okay, thank you. Any questions for you for this witness? All right, thank you very much to both of you. All right, so unfortunately, we didn't get through too many, but we are reconvening in this room, 5:30 or call of the chair. And so, and please leave your bill information summaries and that in your folders, so those will not be lost for this evening. And per previous announcement, amendments, we're asking for those at 6 o'clock tonight, and I have spoken with Representative Dabney and Mars about that, so if you have any other questions, you can ask. And for my previous instructions, I'm laying over the H 4328DE2 amendment and laying over House File 4328 for further consideration, and the committee stands in recess until 5:30 or call of the chair. Thank you.